of the country. And also have to report that even at the state level,
wannan abu ne sababbi ma'lumin ne min addini da darura yanzu karshen ta ma ke ganin sa ma gama ma aikin shuran ba ai MSS haka take karshen da haka da aikin shuran ma ba a gama ya yi shi ma ka ga masa yana da kyau wannan abu kuma ina da shi ce za a ɗan mataki nan abu nan idan magana ta karo da
of Islamic law in Nigeria. Japan, with all due respect, is not as active as it ought to be. In the course of this discussion, we will take some hard facts, hard truths, and we will be able to talk to ourselves because the challenges before us are so enormous. They are so enormous. The antagonists of the Sharia system in the world, and particularly Nigeria, where we belong, is becoming exceedingly complex. And without contamination, going ahead, using systematic methods, we will be left so far behind. We need to be a bit more proactive and a bit more forward-looking in our search for knowledge of the Islamic law, the Sharia, and its relevance in our national life. It is gatherings like this that Halal certification is standardization in Nigeria legal, institutional, legal, institutional, and professional development. The case is delivered by Professor Adam Muhammad Abubakar of College of Islamic Studies,
gwada za ku yi in kun je ku nemi Mr. Paul. Sai ku ce masa bukin nan da ake na rana daya wanda na ce masa wai bukin masa gashi yanzu ya zo zai karɓi ɗakin sa. Kuna masa ku ba da wani avenue na kamar time din ya wuce. Yau.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين خاتم الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين ورئيس المحجلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين المطهرين وصحابته الهادين المهتدين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. سبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Lord, the chairman of this session, permit me to stand on the existing protocol well established by the anchor of today's session. For once of time, I hope the thing is granted. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The topic of this presentation is Sharia governance and Halal certification and standardization in Nigeria. Legal, institutional, and professional challenges. Our discussion since yesterday has been over this important industry, this important center of halal economy that is connected to our day-to-day life and is considered as a religious duty for all Muslims.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the mankind to eat halal. Ya ayyuhan nas kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba, and commanded the believers to also consume halal. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, and commanded the prophets and messengers, Ya ayyuhal rusulu kulu min tayyibati wa'malu salihah. And he described our noble prophet, the son of prophets, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as the one that will permit them to eat at-tayyibat. At-tayyibat. وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثَ وَيَضَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِصْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. That means halal consumption is a religious duty. My learned brothers in this hall attending this important gathering, let me open this. Next slide, please. Let me open this presentation with an opening reflection. Next slide, please. Okay. With an opening reflection. A distinguished Malaysian professor of Islamic economics once posed a simple but profound question to participants of a conference. And his question was, what is the single most reliable indicator of the growth and maturity of Islamic finance industry globally? They offered variety of answers. Some pointed to the rapid increase in Islamic finance. Others cited rising value of Islamic financial assets. Some cited the increasing number of Sharia scholars. But none of these responses satisfied this professor. At the end, the professor, after several attempts, revealed that the true indicator of the growth of Islamic finance is the increasing participation of lawyers. Is the increasing participation of lawyers. Why? That means the success of Nigeria's halal industry will depend not only on Sharia scholars, certification bodies, but also on the active participation of legal practitioners in designing, regulating, enforcing, and strengthening the legal architecture of halal governance in the country. You are all, as learned community, particularly to the Islamic faith, is very paramount. If we didn't take it, don't wonder if you see other learned members of the bar from different faiths taking the lead, and we have seen currently in the Islamic finance industry, a component of the Islamic economics. Because of the laxity of the Muslim learned persons and other professionals, now we find among the industry leaders, non-Muslims taking lead in the Islamic finance industry. Take the case of Sukuk as a case study that was cited yesterday by a learned professor, Professor Abikon. It is true. It is empirically proven that most of the investors of Sukuk are the conventional bond investors, not the Muslims. One of the marvelous things you will see, you find that some Muslims think that Sukuk is a construction company. Some thought that it is a village being numbering Sukuk 1, Sukuk 2, Sukuk 3, Sukuk 4. While others thought it is just a government policy. Count the different misconceptions about it. You can't expect somebody that doesn't know what it means to invest in it. I urge the learned community to embrace halal economy because their participation increase and strengthen the industry. This is just a reflection that I wanted to start my presentation with. When we talk about the Islamic economy, halal economy, according to the CIMIC, which is the Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries, which is a subsidiary of OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, they It also advocates for halal as a tool for poverty reduction, job creation, and sustainable development. Next slide, please. When we talk of conceptualizing the Sharia governance in halal certification, we refer to integrated system of legal, institutional, regulatory, technical, and Sharia oversight mechanisms through which halal certification bodies are directed, controlled, monitored, and held accountable to ensure that all certification activities consistently comply with the principles of Sharia, applicable laws, and recognize halal standards while maintaining transparency, independence, integrity, and public confidence. Accordingly, Sharia governance extends, please move again. Sharia governance extends beyond determining whether the product is halal. It encompasses the governance, structures, institutional arrangements, regulatory controls, professional competences, risk management mechanisms, and legal accountability necessary to maintain public confidence in halal certification system. While the Sharia governance system is comprehensive, Sharia governance for halal certification is expected to comprise the following: 1. Sharia oversight. 2. Legal and regulatory governance. 3. Sharia standards and technical governance. 4. Sharia assurance. And 5. Sharia consumer and stakeholder protection. When we talk about halal certification and standardization, for halal certification, we mean the formal processes by which an independent and competent certification body assesses and verifies that a product, service, process, or management system complies with the established halal requirements, and upon satisfactory assessment, issue a halal certificate as evidence of such compliance, and by extension, such halal certificate will be reflected in halal logo to be fixed in product and services. While halal standardization refers to the process of developing, adopting, harmonizing, implementing, and maintaining uniform halal requirements, technical specifications, conformity assessment procedures, and governance principles to ensure consistency, reliability, and international recognition of halal certification. Therefore, while halal certification determines whether a product or service comply with the established halal requirements, halal standardization establish a benchmark against which compliance is measured. And there are so many halal standards that are being used globally, notably among them the one that is adopted currently by the Standard Organization of Nigeria, as a key, as one of the leading agency in halal standardization. That is the agency with key mandate or leading agency when it comes to standardization in the country. They currently adopted about 3 or 4 CIMIC standards related to halal certification. And there is also another for JAKI, which is Jabatan Agama Islamic Malaysia, which is called JAKI, the Department of Religious Affairs in Malaysia. This is one of the most recognized standards globally. And there is UAE, Saudi, and many more standards that are used across different jurisdictions. Briefly, we look at the development of halal economy, which started from around, I'm able to divide it into about 3 stages, which is founding stage, formative stage, and development stage. In the founding stage, the emergence of halal trade, post-colonial Muslim majority nations began industrialization, creating demand for process of halal goods, and also migration of Muslims to European and American continents were triggered to have a body that will certify that what Muslim consumes in those countries complies with the principles of Sharia. And in the formative period, Malaysia and Indonesia began institutionalization of the standards around 1970s and 1980s. From 1990s to date is considered as the development period, where Malaysia has JAKI standards. This is the period of standardization where you have global unified benchmarks that standardization or that halal certification can be measured. The JAKI, the MULAN, the IFANCA of USA, and the likes were the developments that followed in this stage. And in this stage, an expansion is being noticed where halal has gone beyond foods to cover pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, finance, and tourism. And this is the stage of the development, and this is the stage where we are. And Nigeria still is at the founding stage up to now. When we talk of halal, there are stages for consumption of halal. When we talk of halal, there are stages of consumption of halal. There are 3 stages. The first stage is in relation to the product. That is that product halal, as Allah instructed us that Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu mimma fil ardi kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum, and ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. This must not be part of the exclusions mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah. حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به والمنخنقة والموقوذة والمتردية والنطيحة وما أكل السبع إلا ما ذكيتم وما ذبح على النصب وأن تستقسموا بالأزلام. All these should not be under this. If any of the products fall under this, automatically it is haram, and that product is being disqualified. The second stage is to move to the processing, slaughtering. How is it being slaughtered? Even if an animal, for example, is halal, if it is being slaughtered in non-halal way, it will not be consumed. For example, somebody is instructed by a broker to slaughter beans color of a ram. When he slaughtered that one, it dubiha ala nusuk. It's not allowed, even though it is halal originally, but the process is not halal. And that process starts from slaughtering, cooling system, up to the transportation must be halal and tayyiban, as the two components being identified by the surah, by the ayah surah, halal and tayyiba. Then the last one, which is the most difficult, is how do you acquire? What is the source through which you acquire what you call as halal? If you consume it from halal, do you purchase it from halal? Then it's halal or tayyiban. Otherwise, even if it is being slaughtered, even if it is a ram being reared by imam and being slaughtered by chief imam, that ram, if it is being acquired by another person through halal, haram means it will not be considered as halal. And what brought us to the significance of halal financing. How did you finance what you have? I used to cite one happening that happens amongst young men who wanted to eat chicken, but they don't have means to get it. They climb into one country, got 4 chicken for each one of them, and alhamdulillah, nobody saw them, according to them, of course. When they have now started arguing who will slaughter. They are thieves. Is it allowed to eat what a thief slaughter? They don't know the ruling. Finally, they resolve to go to an imam and tell him ask them to come to give him so that he will slaughter. Finally, he slaughtered, and they fried their and they roast their chicken and halal, according to them. Please, is this halal? Is it halal? No. But don't forget that it's a chicken. It's among halal foods. And it is being slaughtered by an imam. What is the problem? They acquire it through haram means. And this is the source. So also if somebody take corruption, or what is called as collar money, or whatever, you know, there are so many different names given to what things in Nigeria. What is ihsani? This is ihsani. It's not ihsani. So whatever means that you acquire, which is haram, either through riba, or through gharar, or through gambling, or through corruption, or through any means that is being tagged by an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. Any type of this is prohibited and it is not allowed, and that source is still haram. Unless these 5 are completed, we cannot have full halal cycle. But halal economy, there are key sectors in halal economy. We have Islamic finance, we have halal foods, modest fashion, halal travel, and halal pharmaceutical and cosmetics. We can further subdivide this into 2 in Nigerian context and even globally. The Islamic finance component of the economy, alhamdulillah, in this country has been developed across about 5 regulators. Right from the central Nigeria, we have currently about 6 stand-alone Islamic banks, beside other windows. Coming to the Islamic insurance, which is Takaful, we have about 5 Takaful operators under the regulation of the NICOM, under the new Act NIRA, Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act, which is recently enacted 2025, up to the IS Investment and Securities Act 2025 by Securities and Exchange Commission. We have so many fund managers. So also Islamic pension, which is not known to many of the Muslims. It has been there for 5 years. There is a component or alternative of the pension funds that were there, which were established in 2004 by the Pension Reform Act and amended in 2014, same act, in 2021, an alternative after so many agitation and so many sacrifices by industrials is but one of the mamachios and takachios. Many Muslims are not aware. That fund currently stood at only 300 billion, while the total size of the pension industry stood to the tune of 30 trillion naira. 30 trillion, we are not up to 1% of net asset value of the pension industry. And when it comes to agreement, you begin to act, we are the majority in the country. We have to act in order to actualize or justify our presence and our dominance. This act has been agitated for over 10 years. When it was realized, the turnout is very low. Talk about the sukuk. I said many people thought it's just a construction company. So all these sectors are well established when it comes to Islamic finance, components of halal economy. Now, the other components, halal foods, cosmetics, tourism, halal travel, all these are yet developed, and these are the areas that I will concentrate in this conversation relating to Sharia governance. The key components and there are key actors. We have financial institutions, I have mentioned. We have halal products, we have halal certification, exports and trades. We have SMEs, Sharia advisory governance, academics and training, and legal practitioners. All these are key players in the market, and each of them has strategic function, has a core function and strategic importance to deliver when it comes to halal economy delivery in the country. One of the key areas of this presentation is to look into the global approaches when it comes to halal certification and standardization. There are different approaches globally, but I wanted to select few which are the famous and the most practiced globally. We have about 4, out of which we will see which was the Nigerian diversity and peculiar. The first one, move to the next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Yeah, the first one is the governance-led centralized halal certification model. This is a model that is frequently being used in 2 countries, Malaysia and I. The model is government-led centralized halal certification. The key actor is government ministries, national standards body, and Sharia advisory council. These are the key actors in this system. And the legal basis is Comprehensive Halal Act, or specifies legislation establishing a national halal authority, supported by national standards and implementing regulations. This is what is done in Malaysia under JAGIM. Patan Agama is the Department of Religious Studies, religious activities in Malaysia. So also the governance style is centralized. Government serves as the principal regulator, accreditor, and in many cases the sole issuer of the halal certificate. Sharia decisions are integrated into the statutory regulatory framework. And this system, as I said, is practically and prevalently in Malaysia and Brunei. Of course, this may not be suitable for Nigerian context because we know the hula values that were raised even when the halal economy strategy was to launch at the presidential villa, with so many diverse opinions of its suitability or otherwise. But then it was slated to be carried out in the presidential villa in October last year, but then it was just being cancelled a day after so many critical participants came to the country from ISDB, from Badia banks, Arab banks for development in Africa, the Saudi Halal Product Development Company, HBDC, And many stakeholders, they were here when it was cancelled. But then the lesson and the signal is that anything to do with halal, anything to do with Islam, you know it will be countered by our counterparts. And that has been demonstrated in the then efforts to establish the Sharia codes in the Constitution of 1978 to 1979 before the Second Republic. And the recent hulabalus that were raised during Sharia introduction around 2000 and 2001, and even the objection of introduction of Islamic finance in the 2010 and around 2010 and 2011, when some organizations, faith-based organizations, conformity assessment regulations, as well as halal standards adopted by the government, which were being issued by global halal certification, halal standard issuance bodies. And the governance style is supervisory and decentralized. Government does not necessarily issue halal certificates directly, but accreditates and supervises competent certification bodies to ensure compliance with national standards. And the examples, as I said, Saudi, UAE, Pakistan, and the likes. This one looks to be a little bit implementable with some adjustments, and is a market-driven model. This one is independent halal certification bodies, organizations, industry associations, and food manufacturers, consumer protection agencies. There is no any government involvement, fully private. The legal basis is general corporate law. There is no any statute dedicated for halal. Consumer protection legislation, food safety laws, contract law, and voluntary industry standards rather than legislation. Its governance style is decentralized and market-driven. Independent private organizations issue halal certificates, while government oversight is generally limited to food safety, fair trade, and consumer protection. And this is what is being practiced for Muslims in Ifanka, in the United States of America, in the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, Brazil, and other jurisdictions where halal is not but in minority. Now, I believe this model also is not relevant and is not suitable for Nigerian jurisdiction. But then there are some areas that we can benefit from them concerning our peculiarity. Now, the proposed integrated Nigerian model for halal certification to improve halal economy in the country is a hybrid model taken from about 3 models: Malaysian, the first, second, and third, the first, third, and fourth models, with the exception of the second model of Indonesia, which is mandatory, not make it mandatory in Nigeria. The model is integrated, is proposed for Nigeria. The key actors are NINAS. NINAS is the National Accreditation Authority, is the Nigerian National Accreditation System, which is an SRO, self-regulatory organization for conformity, for the accreditation of conformity assessment bodies. We also supposed to have SON, SON, which is the National Standards Authority, so that we can have private certification bodies as we are having, like Dar al Halal and HCA Halal Certification Authority in Lagos and Abuja, respectively. We also have Sharia advisory boards. We also have NAFDAC, Nigeria Export Council, and industry associations. These are going to be championing, these bodies are going to be championing the cause of halal economy. The governance side is that public-private partnership, PPP, with regulatory oversight. Private halal certification bodies conduct inspections and issue halal certificates. Now, which is Nigerian National Accreditation System, accredited certification bodies based on the internationally accepted conformity assessment requirements. SON adopts domesticated CIMIC halal standards as Nigerian industrial standards, and also registers accredited halal certification under it is Nigeria National Register for Conformity Assessment Bodies, which is called NRCAP. It is there under the SON Standard Organization of Nigeria, while Sharia advisory boards provide independent religious oversight within each certification body. And this is the recommended model. Why this model is suitable for Nigerian context? One, it respects Nigeria's religious diversity by avoiding a monopoly over halal certification while ensuring credible oversight, builds an existing institutions, avoiding the immediate cost and complexity of accrediting a new federal agency. We know the sensitivities attached to this. It aligns also the international conformity assessment practices where accreditation is separated to preserve partiality, so that we avoid conflict of interest. The body accreditates conformity assessment bodies is different from the halal conformity assessment bodies, so that there will be no conflict of interest. It also promotes competition and innovation among accredited private halal certification bodies while maintaining consistent national standards on halal. It also enhances international recognition of Nigerian halal certificates through adherence to globally accepted accreditation and standardization frameworks. So you can see the hybrid integrated models can suit the Nigerian peculiarity and diversity. While we consider this system in the interim, we have to push forward for future projects. At the current time, we don't need any standalone legislation. We can blend halal industry in the current existing structures of governance and regulators as well as the laws. All we need is some regulations, subsidiary regulations, point to the primary or substantive legislation. As we have done, and it has succeeded when it comes to establishment of Islamic banking. When the Islamic banking was established in the country, there was no any standalone legislation governing it. What was used is the provisions of the BOFIA in relation to profit and loss sharing banking. And it flies. It was after about 10 years or 9 years when the central bank incorporated some relevant sections in the BOFIA 2020 when it was amended. But before that time, what was used was the CBN, was the BOFIA 2004, and based on it, these banks, about two banks, the Taj Bank, Jais Bank, and Taj Bank, were licensed based on this. There was no any single standalone. So the same applies in Nigeria when in 2013 they issued guidelines for the regulation happening in the country. There was no any standalone. They just used the first one to the what they term as the micro insurance. Under these, takaful operators were licensed. Today we are having about 5 registered halal takaful operators which are operating based on Islamic insurance system. But when recently NIRA, the insurance laws were being integrated into one legislation under NIRA, Nigerian insurance, it will not be up to 5 minutes, inshallah. Nigerian insurance reform, Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act. When it came, it recognized takaful. There is a mention of takaful in section 201 of the new act. So also similar was applied in SEC when they reviewed the Investment and Securities Act. Therefore, we can use currently the existing structure in the Standard Organization of Nigerian Establishment Act 2007 with the NAFDAC and other relevant regulators laws to build inside them the halal system. In the second phase, in the medium term, we have respect to enactment of Nigerian Halal Certification and Standardization Act to establish a comprehensive legal framework, Standardization Act, and to establish comprehensive legal, which is to define international institutional and formalize Sharia governance without having any agency to avoid any attention that it will create more burden of government, but just the act to primarily identify the roles and attach it to existing organizations. In the long term, we expect to establish National Halal Economy Commission or Authority. This is projected to be in the future without any timeline. It depends on how people accept it and how we plan it and how good we promote it and create awareness among the people. In this case, we expect that this body will be serving responsible coordinating halal certification, standardization, international recognition, trade promotion, and capacity development across sector of halal economy. Now, key challenges. The challenges of halal economy in the country: we have absence of national halal governance framework that has been established. We have incomplete accreditation infrastructure. Currently, as recommended, NINAS has mandate for accreditation of conformity assessment bodies. SOM has mandate to register conformity assessment bodies under NRCAP. So, but up to now, Ninas has no any platform, any policy to carry out this function. There are also fragmented institutional coordination because it's been spread across different organizations, as we earlier highlighted. There is lack of statutory recognition of halal governance, and we also have lack of human capacity. There is human capacity deficit. Nigeria requires a new generation of multidisciplinary professionals with expertise in law, Sharia, quality infrastructure, conformity assessment, and corporate governance. The shortage of such professionals remains one of the greatest contributors to the sustainable development of halal economy in the country. At the end, the paper remains development of national halal framework, strengthen the national accreditation infrastructure, institutionalize inter-agency coordination, and invest in human capital development, and finally establish a national halal economy authority as a long-term institutional, not now, as a long-term institutional goal. I say that because I have some of the recommendations that we need to have. It is remote and it will not fly. And we have seen experiences in different sectors when it comes to this. We have to be strategic, we have to be patient, and we have to take it step by step. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the time to make this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. May Allah bless you, may Allah protect you, may Allah continue to guide you, your family. Thank you very much for doing something to the and thank the organizers to postpone questions, comments, and suggestions with respect to the contribution of the learned Professor Abu Bakr to await the presentation from the Dar al Halal, so that the two issues can be tied up together without preempting what the second speaker will say, so that we'll have a holistic view of the two presentations. So without much ado, I would like to call on another professor to take to the podium. Sorry, pardon my mix-up. I need to do the introduction properly. Yes. Dr. Sheikh Medugu, Chairman, Dar Al Halal Certification, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Dr. Medugu, can you please take the podium for your presentation? Thank you very much. Takbir for the learned doctor. Allahu Akbar. Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, my Lordship, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa salatu wa salamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Mr. Chairman, I wish to seek your permission to start. I also wish to seek your protection as I deliver this paper. I am an economist by training, so in a situation where I misquote or I don't quote, I hope that I will have your protection, sir. Thank you, my distinguished brothers and sisters in Islam. I work for Dar Al Halal Certification Limited is a private sector driven legal entity registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission and then having the backing of Standard Organization of Nigeria to provide conformity assessment in the halal ecosystem. So ours is a company registered to provide certification in the halal industry. As we're all aware, this is an industry that is very dear to us as Muslims. I'm sure the previous presentations yesterday have talked about, and this morning, the imperative of consuming only halal tayyiban. As Muslims, we don't have an option. We must consume only what is halal and tayyiban. And this presentation is about the halal certification process. But permit me to mention that the halal ecosystem is $1 trillion economy. As at the last estimates, the halal ecosystem is estimated to be worth $7.7 trillion US. So it's an ecosystem that is so huge. And for Nigeria as a country with more than 240 million people with vast potentials, then it is imperative that we take opportunity of this huge ecosystem. And it is in the light of this realization that the federal government, working with all critical stakeholders, launched the Nigeria National Halal Strategy. And this is not only unique to Nigeria. Many countries in the world, Muslim as well as non-Muslim countries, even countries that have small Muslim populations, have put in place halal strategy in order to take the opportunity of this huge ecosystem. So smaller countries like the Gambia, countries in Europe, countries like Brazil, countries like India, Australia, all have halal strategies because it's a huge market, a market of 7.7 trillion naira. In dollars, please. And it is interesting to also note that among the major suppliers of halal products in the world, you don't find even a single Muslim country. Because the major suppliers of halal products and services are countries like Brazil, countries like China, countries like India, and countries like New Zealand and Australia. So where are the Muslims? So these are the countries that are taking opportunity, advantage of this huge ecosystem. And it is this realization that the federal government thought it's imperative to put in place a national halal strategy that will directly contribute to the Nigerian economy and establish Nigeria as a regional leader in global economy. Now, if as Muslims we are expected to eat, we are under obligation to only eat what is halal and tayyiban, then there must be agencies, whether in the government or in the private sector, that will certify producers of goods and services for consumption, so that quality assurance is given to consumers that what they are consuming is halal and at the same time tayyiban. That is the process of processing such halal products are also wholesome,
they are good, and they are of standard. Interestingly, as a company, to ensure that we have the technical wherewithal to provide this certification. And as required, we also have panels, both Sharia panel and a technical panel to guide our activities. I wish to mention here, Mr. Chairman, that in our Sharia panel, we have distinguished members of this association. We have, just to mention, Professor Adam is part of us. We also have Professor Alaji Muhammad Alaji Abubakar of in the MIMOX in Maiduguri is also part of our Sharia panel. We also have Professor Bello Ahmed Dogara. Ahmed Bello Dogara is also part of our Sharia panel. We also have Professor Ibrahim Ahmed, head of Department Sharia, University of Maiduguri, in our Sharia panel, and Malay Ibrahim Hassan of Nabia, also in our Sharia panel. We equally have in our technical panel veterinarians, retired but not tired, a director from NAFDAC, Dr. Bukar Ali Usman, who is currently the Director General Livestock Development Agency in Borno State. We also have here in Kano, Dr. Jesuli Mohammed Pichi, a renowned vegetarian, is also part of our technical panel. So permit me with this introduction to proceed with the mandate given to me to discuss the halal certification process. Halal certification, just as mentioned by Professor Adam, is a structured, independent, documented assessment of an organization processes, materials, controls, and documentation to verify conformity with halal requirements and assurance controls. So what we do is to look into the processes, the documentation, the materials, controls, in order to verify conformity of companies producing goods and services that they are in conformity with halal requirements and assurance control. So we have a certification roadmap, that is the process involved in the certification process. Because certification, my brothers and sisters, involves processes from the farm to the table, So it's a process end to end. Now, bodies, companies, producers that produce goods and services that require certification must apply for the process. So the first process, as you can see, is the application. Applicants submit an application form providing essential information about their products, what kinds of products are they producing or services, about their processes, because we want to certify, so we have to audit the processes of producing the products and the ingredients that are used in the production process. Because we want to ensure that the final output, the final product is halal and tayyib. So the applicant we check for the documents submitted, whether they are genuine, If it is about registration of the company, are they registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission? If they are producing products, do they have NAFTA registration? Do they have Standard Organization of Nigeria Salt registration? Do they have registration in terms of health issues of their staff from the appropriate regulatory agencies? So we do screen the documents submitted. Then the next is, once they meet these requirements, then there is the audit notification. We need to undertake audit. So we will notify the company after passing the eligibility criteria. We inform them with the proposed date of audit and what will be required on the audit. After that, if they accept the date that is given for them for audit, now we go an on-site audit. That is when we go to the premises of the company where the product is being processed or produced, and we start with an opening meeting with the management. We map out the audit scope, the criteria for the audit, the review of technical documents, which will be followed by a physical inspection of the facilities. We will go and look at the process flow from the beginning to the end. We will also, after that, issue an audit report based on the field assessment, based on the spot assessment. The audit Islamic principles, then a certification decisions will be made. The Halal Certification Committee will review all evidences and issue a final decision. When that is done, a certificate is issued upon approval to the company based on the product, specific product that was certified. We don't stop with that. There is a continuous surveillance from time to time. This surveillance can be announced, it can be unannounced surveillance to ensure that the company producing such a product strictly adheres to the standards as agreed upon. The last one is the certificates are usually for a period, usually 1 year, and then the company will now come at the expiration of the process, the date, to renew the certificate. But in terms of the eligibility, for a company to be eligible, organization must satisfy, like I said, foundational requirements, must meet the foundational requirements. Legal status of the company, full legal registration with the CSC, with NAFDAC, with SON, permissible sector. It is not all sectors that can be certified, just like Prof said in the morning. So there are Sharia permissible sectors. It is only Sharia permissible sectors that will be certified. Then system integrity, every company, organization to be certified must have a documented halal assurance system in place so as to ensure conformity with the halal standard. Then pure operations, that any company to be certified must not handle anything that is not halal. For example, no handling of alcohol or non-halal businesses. Because in some jurisdictions, you have a situation where a particular company has 2 or 3 lines of production. 1 or 2 might be halal, then the other might be non-halal. But based on the standard that we follow, we only certify organizations that produce only halal products. Now, so as part of the process, like I said, we'll look at their good manufacturing process, we'll look at their raw material lists, and we also go further to check their vendor certification. Who are their vendors? Because ingredients are very important in the production process. So who are their vendors? And where is the source of their raw materials? Where are the source of the ingredients? All these are part of the eligibility and prerequisite procedure. Now, so in a situation where we review the application life cycle, in terms of legal entity, we said that the threshold is that company is legally registered with valid licenses. If that does not occur, then this gives room for rejection of an application. Scope clarity, product and services category must be clearly defined. Unclear or unfit for halal certification if it is not clearly defined. Process control, there must be halal assurance system or robust food safety system in place. Otherwise, such a company or product will not be certified. Then compliance, there must be records of compliance. In a situation where a particular company doesn't have a prior record of non-compliance, then our company will not certify such a product. The audit process and the framework ensures that we adhere to standards. He has talked about the standards. Next slide, please. We work with the civic standard, which was adopted by the Standard Organization of Nigeria. We are equally trained on the JAKIM Malaysian standard because, as we are all aware, Malaysia has been in the halal business for more than 50 years now. For more than 50 years, Malaysia has been in the halal business. So our company, we were trained by 09, a company in Malaysia on the JAKIM standard. So on the site, this is the audit cycle, as I have talked about. Now, in a situation after the audit, we observe non-conformities. That is non-conformity to the standard presented. So what we normally do is that we categorize, after the audit, non-conformities into 3. Minor non-conformity. These are isolated non-compliance posing low risks to halal integrity. The action required in this case is corrective action. So we bring out the minor non-conformity and present to the company that these are low risk non-compliance, but they need to be corrected within 14 days so that we can go ahead with the certification process. Now, if it is a major non-conformity, a major non-conformity involves significant risks to halal assurance or the halal assurance control system. So in this case, there is the action required is that there should be immediate containment of the non-conformity, and then a non-conformity. So the company will be required to close this gap, the non-conformity, within 14 days. Or otherwise, if it is an existing company with a certification that came for renewal, it will amount to suspension of their certificate. But in a situation where we have what we refer to as serious non-conformity, which is Sharia critical, and non-conformity comprising halal status. So serious non-conformity actually involves critical non-compliance. And in this case, there will be immediate withdrawal notice, and it will warrant revocation of an existing halal certification by our company. The certification decision, usually, next slide please. Once we do the audit, we'll present the factual report, and the final adjudication is handled by our Sharia and technical panels. And if these panels comprising of Islamic scholars, food scientists, and regulatory lawyers who ensure standard interpretation are consistently met, then the halal certification is granted. And with the granting of the halal certificate, thank you. With the granting of the halal certificate, then the halal logo will also be issued to the company so that they can append the halal logo on their products and services. In a situation where they have minor non-conformities, the certification will be pending until they correct these non-conformities within the stipulated timeline. And in a situation where we have serious non-conformities that jeopardize halal standards, the application will be rejected completely. For certification, like I said, we'll be having surveillance from time to time to investigate for adherence to this certification. We have, just like I said, accreditation and reference standards, the JAKIM, and then the OIC civic standards. Permit me to also add that there should be, in the next slide, expectation from MULAN as a professional body and our Muslim lawyers as professionals. What is the role of MULAN and its members in the halal ecosystem? And I think that is a point for reflection for all of us. Regulatory advocacy, lawyers, MULAN members should engage in regulatory advocacy. Remember, we had a serious battle before the Nigerian National Halal Strategy was launched by the federal government. And it is the advocacy by members of MULAN and other distinguished Muslims that actually push the government, to launch the Nigerian National Halal Strategy. So we should continue, MULAN and its members should continue with advocacy for the establishment in the long run, just like Proper said, for the Nigerian Halal agency that will, oversee the halal ecosystem in Nigeria. Consumer protection, factoring transparency through litigation against halal fraud and misleading labeling. And this can be done by our Muslim lawyers. Similarly, in terms of arbitration and alternative dispute resolution, our lawyers, members of MULAN, will play a very critical role in this regard. Compliance, advisory, as experts, legal experts, MULAN and members are expected to provide legal guidance to our small, medium enterprises on navigating international trade requirements, contractual obligations, and halal export regulation. As Dar al Halal, we will continue to do our best as a private sector driven entity to promote the halal ecosystem in Nigeria. Halal certification is critical to the development of the ecosystem. Mr. Chairman, I wish to end with an example of this very important certification issue. I was informed of a group of investors that came to Nigeria from Egypt some few years ago, and they wanted to buy meat from Nigeria. And then they were going to Kano, because Kano is a commercial center, having a border with Niger, and then the supply of cow meat, cow and other forms of animals. Unfortunately, sir, the team were taken to the abattoir here in Kano. The team were taken to the abattoir in Kano, and that was what brought the camels back. When they saw the condition of our abattoir in Kano, they said, that is the end of discussion, because of the unhealthy and poor processes that negates animal care, and at the same time that pose risks even to human health from the consumption of the output of our abattoirs. That was how we lost that business. Certification is to ensure, for example, in the meat industry, that we have standardized, modernized abattoirs that meet international halal standards, so that our partners in the Middle East and other countries can buy from us. Permit me to also mention that as at today, the biggest modernized, automated abattoir in Nigeria is owned by a non-Muslim. It's owned by a non-Muslim. They have the abattoir in Lekki, in Lagos, and they are currently building another one in Abuja. We are in partnership with them to certify them, so that as a halal certified abattoir, they will be exporting meat to the Middle East and other countries. So as Muslims, it is our responsibility to provide the leadership and then the guidance, especially as learned colleagues, being an economist for you, to take this opportunity and educate our businessmen and women so that they can take this opportunity of certification, so that products emanating from Nigeria will not be rejected. The Arabs want to buy from us, but it is not every job that they will buy from us. We must meet the standard. So our small and medium scale industries, businesses should be certified, and Dar al Halal as a partner is available to provide this service. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. Thank you, MULAN, for the opportunity. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, for a very wonderful presentation. It was a well-written paper and very well delivered. You'll all agree with me. Another takbir for distinguished speaker. Allahu Akbar. May Allah reward you abundantly for educating us and making us understand what Dar al Halal is about and all the good things you are doing for Nigerian Muslims and for Muslims globally. Now, some of these things have historical perspectives. If you remember very well, even in Europe and America, it was not the Muslims who took the lead in the certification of some goods, products, and services, foods, drinks, products, and services. Particularly with respect to meat products, if you remember, it was another religious group who championed the cause for what was then called kosher meat. It was not meant for Muslims, but that because they were very powerful and economically they were very powerful, they were able to control the meat industry in the world. When they introduced the principles of kosher meat, and it was Muslims who were following the steps of this religious group, and Muslims began to agree between themselves that kosher meat is the closest to halal meat. And most restaurants in Europe and America began to serve meat that was kosher. And it was only kosher compliant food products that were being patronized by this religious group. And they championed it, and everywhere you go into a restaurant or a supermarket, they will be told that their meat is kosher, it has met kosher standard. And it was after that footprint that Muslims began to advocate for halal meat and halal foods and drinks. So much so now that in Europe and America, being the economic giants of the world, you see halal foods and drinks. In fact, some sections of supermarkets sell only halal products. And it is a standard that they follow, particularly with respect to meat. Every meat product that is sold in certain wings or sections of a supermarket will be declared as halal products. And Muslims do not have to go to where they sell, the section of the supermarkets where they sell meat products that are not halal, particularly pork, because some Muslims in Europe and America began to get sick by mere sighting pork. And because of the economics of the days gone by, they began to say, okay, since Muslims do not eat pork, they don't like pork, we will not force them to see beef being sold side by side with pork. Because many Muslims deserted such supermarkets. These people were after money. They wanted to continue having the Muslims buy meat, because Muslims are not generally vegetarian. We eat a lot of meat. So they open sections of supermarkets where it's only halal meat. You'll only see beef, chicken, mutton, and other meat products that are strictly halal. So you don't have to go to the section of the supermarket where you will even cite pork products. Now, these things were driven, all these steps were driven by non-Muslims. Just like Professor Abubakar said, it was not driven, sorry, Professor Medugu said that it was not the Muslims who are in the forefront of these movements leading to certification of foods, drinks, products, and services as halal. Other religious groups
either because they wanted to attract Muslims, they began to advertise their products as halal compliant or whatever. But that there is a global trend towards Islamophobia. We have our own local variant of it. The biggest countries in the world, in Europe and America, and even Asia nowadays, do not like to pander to the wishes of Muslims. They don't care about what Muslims, the sensitivities of Muslims with respect to certain things. That we are looked at as troublemakers, people who want only their standard, people who cannot compromise. This is the reality of today. It is a very hard reality, and we must accept it and forge ahead. And it is through efforts like this, synergetic efforts between regulatory agencies that are already well and abundantly provided in our body of laws, that we must operate from within. The local content, what I call the local content of Islamophobia, is the anti-Sharia movement in Nigeria. There is Sharia phobia in Nigeria. And some of those antagonists of Sharia have gotten support from some international institutions and agencies that were so open, brazenly, very recently, called for the abolition of Sharia in Nigeria. Without any respect for the Muslims of this country, that Sharia must be abolished in all its ramifications. So it is for us to use the platforms that are available to us, or the avenues that are available for us, because Nigeria has a very weak consumer protection regime. Consumers, the government, with all due respect, hardly enforces the rights of consumers. And if it goes, once you see a product, if it attracts you, you buy, whatever the consequences of your consuming or patronizing it turns out to be, it's your own lookout. You hardly have any right of action. So that if, like they've been doing in Europe and America and other parts of the world, including Asia, there are advocacy groups, and it is lawyers, Muslim lawyers, that will be advocates for consumer rights according to the Sharia and within the parameters of the laws of Nigeria, because there is enough space within which to operate, without attracting the antagonists who don't want anything Islam, who don't want anything Sharia. They are so scared of it. Even though Sharia applies only among Muslims, but there is a tendency towards Sharia phobia. So it is advocacy groups within the Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria that must come up. There must be guilds and societies that care for protection of people's rights. If somebody sees a particular product that is very common, that is consumed by Muslims very largely, nothing, if there are advocacy groups, nothing prevents, by the laws of this country, such agencies or such groups from going to court to compel the producers of those foods or drinks to tell Nigerian Muslims, what products do you use in making this food or drink? From where did you import? Just like Dr. Medugu said. We are entitled to go and do that. We will spend money, we go to court, we insist. We will not take no for an answer. If the trial court says, no, you have no local standard, you have no this, let's go to the Court of Appeal. Let's go to the Supreme Court.
we are acting on behalf of concerned Muslims. For example, the laws of this country, so far as we understand them to be today, allow for such advocacy actions. And unless there are strategic efforts towards having strategic impact litigations, we will not make much progress, or will not make progress at the rate other countries of the world have made progress. You may all remember at the time of when the antagonists of the Sharia introduced what was then called the Child Rights Act. That law contains so many anti-Islamic provisions. It was being debated by the National Assembly. They wanted to rush it through the National Assembly and ram it on the throats of all Muslims in Nigeria. That was when state governments in the Muslim-dominated states of Nigeria began to focus on some of those provisions of the Child's Rights Act, and the difference is so clear today. May Allah bless all those whose initiatives it was to scrutinize the Child's Rights Act as it was imported from Europe and America, containing anti-Islamic values. May Allah reward them abundantly, because they manage, some of them you very well know them, they are still alive, who were in the forefront of scrutinizing that legislation and removing some of the clearly and manifestly un-Islamic provisions of it. The Child Rights Acts, child rights laws of the states of Nigeria, having Muslim majority, don't have all those provisions, obnoxious provisions. They were removed. And we don't have them now in our child rights laws of the state. But the Child Rights Act has such provisions, anti-Islamic provisions, oppressive to Muslims and antithetical to the Islamic faith. It is lawyers in Nigeria who are Muslims who want to serve Allah, the Almighty Allah, in a special way. It is a prescription of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if you see something that is bad, try. These are the steps. Some of us will be energized to start doing. We just look at something that we see has some anti-Islamic tendencies. We probe it. If we don't get the right answers, we go to court to challenge the makers or providers of such products or providers of those services. We just have to be active. We have a duty. We owe it to Allah. Allah made us, created us Muslims, and created us to worship Him. That was what God said to us. So how we worship God, or how we must be worshiping God, for the protection of the Ummah. We cannot just become reticent and then keep quiet while things are happening under our very noses. We have to do much more. And we must be dedicated, very dedicated to the enforcement of what the laws allow us. The laws allow us sufficient latitude to elevate the enforcement of Sharia rules and principles. There is enough latitude. We are only abysmally reluctant in doing what we needed to do. This is a great challenge, and it is a challenge for all Muslim lawyers in Nigeria. The financial value of the halal economy is in trillions of dollars, like Dr. Madugu said. It is something that Muslims should be very, very interested. And because some of these things are about the laws and the enforcement of those laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because most of the laws of the states owe their origin to the laws of the federation. If we scrutinize some of those laws of the federation and see which of them have oppressive or anti-Islamic provisions, we are entitled to go to court to challenge these things. But we can't continue to remain reticent and reluctant in taking up some of these things. There must be action and enforcement action and advocacy groups to promote the observance of the Sharia in Nigeria within the available parameters. There is enough latitude, with all due respect, for us to be active players and elevate the observance of Islamic principles, rules, and regulations. We would have worshipped Allah in a special way. It is the call of it is a clarion call on all of us to see what our relationship with the Almighty Allah is. Unless Allah has a special place in our hearts and minds, we will not have special position in the minds of the Almighty Allah. It's only when we show love and total commitment to the laws of Allah in the ways that we can, and there are enough latitudes for us to be active players. Now, with these comments, I would with some of these remarks that I've made, I've been advised to allow for more questions, comments, and suggestions. But before then, a number of our brothers and sisters have joined us after this session commenced, and the organizers will want to recognize their presence in our midst. Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you very much. Hello. Honorable Justice Ali Abdul Presiding Justice of the Court of Appeal Kano Division. We have the following acknowledgements. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Justice Ibrahim Ayuba, retired Justice of the Federal High Court. Father, you are welcome. And for him. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Justice Zuhaira Yusuf of the Kano State High Court. Father, you are welcome. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Kadi Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Kidano of the Sharia Court of Appeal, Kano State. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Justice Adamasi from Plateau State. Madam, you are welcome. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Grand Kadi Muhammad Amir Benjuma, the Grand Kadi of Kaduna State. Madam, you are welcome. And for them, please.
Allahu Akbar.
We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Kadi Muhammad Tukur Rashid of the Sharia Court of Appeal, Kaduna State. Madam, you are welcome. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Kadi Muhammad Nasir Sudi of the Sharia Court of Appeal, Kaduna State, at Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Kadi Qasim Muhammad of the Sharia Court of Appeal, Yobe State.
Allahu Akbar.
We acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Grand Kadi Abba Mamadi of the Sharia Court of Appeal, Yobe State. My Lord, you are welcome. And pray for them, please.
Allahu Akbar.
We acknowledge the presence of Honorable General Professor A.P. Ahmad, the biology class in Kano. Prof, you are welcome. We acknowledge the presence of Professor Abdulkadir Ibrahim Abika, past president of this very important association and the Director General, Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. So you are welcome.
Allahu Akbar.
We acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Attorney General and the Commissioner for Justice of the Gao State.
Just have association. Lawyers. We go to court. The chief.
God has We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Kadi Abubakar Mustafa Lalloki of the Sharia Court of Appeal, Kano State.
It's not the strength of your
Honorable Kadi Abubakar Mustafa Lalloki at Takbir. We acknowledge the presence of Kalana
social media, but
Lawal Hudu of the Ministry of Justice, Kebbi State. Kalana Lawal Hudu at Takbir. We acknowledge the presence of the pilot of this very important association, Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, the Madaki of Tudunwada, Al-Hadi Saidu Muhammad Tudunwada. You're welcome, sir. Please a takbir for the president. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Justice Musa Ahmad of the Kano State High Court. My Lord, you are welcome. A takbir. We acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Grand Kadi, Sharia Court of Appeal, Kano State, Dr. Tijani Yusuf Yakase. At Takbir, we acknowledge the presence of the CPC chairman of this very important occasion, Honorable Al-Haji Muhammad Sani Kanu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Sir, you are welcome. We acknowledge the presence of Honorable Kadi A.S. Yerima of the Katsina State Sharia Court of Appeal. Sir, you are welcome. At Takbir. At Takbir. We acknowledge the presence of all the magistrates, Sharia court judges, and other important personalities here present. You are all appreciated. We equally acknowledge the presence of Professor Ibrahim Abdullahi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Usman Danfodio University. Sir, you are welcome. We equally appreciate a member from Yobe State who brought to our attention the important personalities from Yobe. We encourage other branches to also emulate. Please look around the dignitaries from other states so that they can be recognized. With this, I hand over the mic to the chairman of this very important occasion for the comments. The CPC chairman, Mr. Chairman, the CPC chairman.
Mr. Chairman, while we appreciate all that you have done, we also appreciate all that the listeners has given by way of their audience. Just by way of an amendment to the program, after this session, there will be another session. The chairman of the second session and then the sponsors, I must say, they are trying to to also disseminate knowledge to the audience. It's not that they are eager to leave the venue, but they are so eager to disseminate knowledge. And it's under these guys that we want to amend. We have made up our mind to amend that as soon as the chairman of this session and the sponsors leave the stage, the persons who are going to adopt the second sessions will go forward and then we will take up. We want to appeal to the audience, to the listeners, to the patient. I don't think it's going to take to do the second session with utmost apology to the sponsors. Then we can now go for lunch and do other things. My chairman, permit me to introduce somebody who is ordinary, a person of Lady Akandil Malok, who is so tall that everybody can see him. Everybody can see how tall he is. I said he is so ordinary. He is ordinary in the sense that he wants to work towards becoming the president of the Nigerian Bar Association. That makes him an ordinary person. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished speakers, for example, Kano and the you may have questions you want to ask them. You may have comments. Because recommendation was suggested today on their presentations, on their respective presentations. I can see so many hands. It's wonderful. We're happy seeing so many hands. But please, when you take to the stand, announce your name and then your comment. But make it as briefly as you can. Yes, let me start from my right. The gentleman with the cap here, please. Please pass the microphone to him. Where are the ushers? Okay, please. I like the time da mutane ba sai dai kawai ka baka wani za a yi hankali za a rage musu. Give this to him rather than waste of time.
Thank you very
Za ku
much.
rubuta tambayoyin. Wanda a rubuta tambayoyin koda.
My Lord, I stand on the protocol already existed. First of all, my two questions are to the learned prof.
Can you please identify yourself?
Kumar Anil Kano, the National Publicity Secretary of MULAN, and also the National Coordinator, Halal Advisory Center. I want to recommend, when you, in your presentation, you mentioned challenges of having a legislation council for to regulate halal certification. Do you think it's a good suggestion if Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria have a unit for halal certification center that will be the regulatory body for the whole issue of certification in Nigeria? Is this a good recommendation? And secondly, pertaining to agencies for halal certification, when we are trying to register ours, we were counseled that halal certification being a faith-based interest, ordinarily the players need to be in a non-profit corporations. Do you think that is also a good suggestion that in Nigeria, all the halal certification players should be non-profit, considering the stake in it is a religious and faith-based interest, rather than having a profitable organization playing in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, from the center of the gentleman here. Yes, please.
Yeah.
When I saw how much interest suke da shi so that.
I thank you for this opportunity.
Yes.
My name is Kura Mohammed Chukwu, from Identity President Anko, SAN. My own is contribution first. I see there's need for a kind of full support for strategic impact mitigation. You know, because of the condition are very high and different requirements. So if there will be a kind of support to ensure some kind of necessary and impactful litigation are taken into court, there's need for that kind of support. Secondly, I think there's need to look at the possibility of having, if it is not already in place, having a kind of subject and courses, being taught on diplomas in universities based on this strategy about approach. Number three, I think we still need to look at the possibility of advocating for a kind of lower or concessionary tax for halal imports and export associated products and services. Thank you very much. These are my contributions.
Thank you very much. I've been told that we have Professor Abiko in this. He's the Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. Professor Abiko.
Thank you, my lord.
Yes, please.
Jazakumullah khair. Yes, I want to make a few comments and a few questions. So, Professor Adam, I want to suggest that the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs has a very great role.
May we please have one house where we look so divided? There are some people who appear not be interested in what we are doing here. Please, from the back of the hall, can we please have a better audience? Organize, can you talk to the people at the door behind? Please. Hello. Can you talk to the people there? They are making too much noise, really.
Our brothers at the back, please.
Can you please?
Let's maintain decorum, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Prof.
Thank you, my lord.
Please.
Thank you, my lord. Now, yesterday we mentioned the role played by the Emir of Kano in the birthing of Islamic finance in Nigeria. But that role was accidental. It was not strategic.
Yes.
Because it was not the design of the Nigerian Muslims to ensure that he became central bank governor. It was accidental.
Yes.
So I think in this era, we need a lot of people to get to some agencies that will influence some of these approach we are talking about. NAFDAC, SON,
have to be, proactive.
who are our committed brothers, who have real understanding, like Sanusi asked to be able to effect what he did on Islamic finance. So I think the Nigerian Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs, we have to work a lot, call their attention to this, that we need to influence a number of things, and we have a lot of quality people who can do it. That's one of my suggestions. Again, there will also be need for strategic collaboration among organizations. A lot of reference has been made to MULAN.
Yes.
In what way are other organizations assisting MULAN to be able to do some of these functions? I have the privilege of serving as president of MULAN, but I can assure you, my lord, a lot of us use our personal resources to run MULAN. And MULAN has a lot of things, a way to assist the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria. So there will be more of interorganizational collaboration. And my question to Dr. Sheikh is that you are a private company. A lot of other private companies will be coming up. Who regulates these private companies to ensure that there are no abuses of what we want to regulate? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Prof, for those incisive comments.
Yeah.
It still does not derogate from the fact that Muslim lawyers have to be more active in the pursuit of excellence and in the service of the Almighty God by their God-given knowledge and privileged position. The gentleman at the back with the black, you. Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, sir, my name is Aminu Hassan, MBA Chairman, Kebbi State. Sir, mine is an observation. When we talk about the Sukuk and Takaful as non-profit and Islamic institutions, obviously speaking, there is lack of awareness among Muslim communities. And I suggest that maybe MULAN and the other branches of MULAN should champion
awareness in our communities, in the native languages of our community, so that Muslim members will appreciate what sukuk and takaful are and what are they for. Otherwise, there will be a lot of noise in here, but to our greatest dismay, the Muslim community may not be aware of such. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Yes, please. With the white cap, Ibrahim Buba. You are unusually quiet. You are unusually quiet. And you will say something.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
You cannot appeal against that order. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I followed with rapt attention all the paper presented and the discussion. My questions are two. Is genetically modified organisms
foods
or lab-grown meat considered as halal in Islam?
Yeah, of course.
And the second one. The second one is mechanically processed meat,
yes,
or robotically processed meat considered as halal in Islam. Thank you.
Yes, please stand up and say something.
Thank you. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. See, if an order comes from the chairman, I know time is past and some of us are going to go. You are not the only president of law in the University of Maiduguri. He was also my mentor in the Federal High Court. Mr. Chairman, I drove in this morning from Kaduna to come my chair. But when I walked in, I was totally flabbergasted. I said, can this be true? Because this is the first time I'm attending MULAN. And when they gave me a topic to come and chair on, I also just discovered that the topic was changed. But for AI, I know I will not exhibit any regrettable ignorance. But having been ordered to say something, honestly, throughout while sitting here, I was really, really, really worried. The speaker who wrote here said something. If we are Muslims, and Islam is a complete way of life, and indeed it is, and we have grown in numerical strength, and someone said, they said, no, for you to register it must be for fair purpose, not for, it should not be for commercial. I said, no, it cannot be true.
Yes.
And the only thing I want to suggest to MULAN, all of us are privileged to be learners in this country.
Yes.
And if we were not forced to read Arabic as a compulsory language, but we were forced to read English as a compulsory language to be able to be lawyers, we should go inward and think. Now that nobody can force us, all of us should read Arabic.
Yes.
So we'll be able to understand. If you don't want to read Arabic, let us read Islamic law and begin to understand some of the problems we have in a pluralistic and diverse society like Nigeria. Practicing as a lawyer, I was forced to read Asad Madari because I discovered the late UK and UK Bello family. A Muslim judge disinherited 22 of the children that because they were children of Sadaka.
Yes.
And it was not possible. I was forced as a lawyer to go and buy the volumes of Asad Madari to read. I was also forced to say even our own Muslim judges, sitting as High Court judges, had little or no knowledge of Sharia. I was forced to take the first case that went to the court of Kaduna and gave one power than deciding who is a Muslim by late Okunola JNC, Maidana, and Usman Mohammed. So for me, those of us who are in MULAN, we are not only privileged, the soldier and the problem of all these things the chairman highlighted. The antagonism on Islam and Sharia is on our heads. If we want to part with this world peacefully, we should be able to go back and remove this misconception about Sharia. It's a complete war of life. You find out in modern Nigeria, years before Mr. Chairman, you told me I will have to say this. Years before the advent of colonialism and English law, we had Arabic, we had Islamic law. Yes. Suddenly, all of us are very beautiful, like me, learning English from, like as if I am from UK. But when you ask me to speak Arabic, I will find myself somewhere Arabic. So why will common law come to Nigeria after Sharia and yet we are still battling to find our feet and our place? So we must rise from this conference and get our place, draw our own diameter, determine our circumference, get our Muslims to educate people and let them know in every facet, like someone said, we should be there. If we are not there, we'll just be overridden. Yeah. So for me, when we come here and talk, let us go back. Nobody is assessing you for exams. Buy the books, read the Islamic law, come forward. Section 2 of the High Court Law of Northern Nigeria says Islamic law of the Maliki school. Section 2 says it's a customary law. We don't believe so. No. So we have to do something about it. Mr. Chair, I hope I am not taking over.
Thank you very much. So you have done the much that I expected that you should do. And you did very well. Yeah, you see, just to add to what my Lord Ibrahim Buba said, some of you MULAN members who are from Sokoto, Kebbi, Gombe, and Borno states, and even Kaduna states, would know that Sharia appeals, unfortunately, Sharia appeals are being prosecuted by non-Muslims. By non-Muslims. People who are clear opponents and adversaries to the Sharia system are allowed to come to the Court of Appeal to argue Sharia appeals. The attitude is so obvious, only that the outcome may not be too obvious, but the attitude is obvious. Nobody who is not a Muslim can defend the laws of Allah. It is a duty imposed on Muslims. And it is so sad, I'm saying it with all degree of seriousness and responsibility, that we see non-Muslim lawyers appearing to prosecute appeals on behalf of indigent litigants when MULAN members are abound in most of the states of northern Nigeria. Not being mindful to their duty to their Creator, the Almighty Allah, to allow a clear non-Muslim to go to court and argue a Sharia appeal against a judgment of the Sharia court of a state. It looks so abysmally, obnoxious, but it is happening. So this wake-up call on Muslim lawyers to be more active, will not stop. We will have to continue urging our brother lawyers to be more active, to be more proactive in the pursuit of excellence in the administration of Sharia law in Nigeria. Yes, any more comments? Yes, the gentleman with the green garment. Yeah, you. Okay, green. No, that's green. Yes, you. Yes, you with the green garment. Oh, is it not green? Or is it blue? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My own is
I'm trying to get you up. Yeah, to look at say, okay. Okay, so come on, how many more do it? Come on, time, come over time. Is it sharing? Okay, by 1:30? Okay.
Halal certification is a process that covers not only food but also service. It's also very clear that the food, most attention is given to only food in Nigeria in terms of certification. Less concerns are given to services like maybe banking, insurance, and pension services, and supply chain, etc. So, and this is a kind of a very big gap which needs to be addressed. So I want the presenter to maybe give us why is this gap existing, and what, as MULAN lawyers, MULAN members and other stakeholders, what do we need to do to bridge this gap to enable the halal success in all facets of its existence? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to be gender sensitive. Our fellow sisters, isn't there any one of you who wants to ask a question or make a comment? You use a lot of, with all due respect, you use a lot of products that would need some clarification. You are allowed to use adornments to make yourself look beautiful. Some of these products will not emanate from this country. Some of them needed clarifications, and we want to hear from you. Unless you want us to continue with that belief and mindset that we are too reluctant to pursue our interests. Yes, please. Suna amfani da so many cosmetic products da sauransu, amma har su ba wanda za su yi magana. They use a lot of products, perfume, and very popular brands.
My Lord, Chairman of the session. Good afternoon, the presenters, my fellow colleagues and participants. Assalamu alaikum. Mine is just maybe a comment or question, I don't know. Maybe by listening to it, you will know what it is. I have an understanding about the connotation.
Okay.
Halal, takaful, and so on. And this creates a sort of fear in the mind of our non-Muslim colleagues. So can we do something about the connotation?
Halal?
It is important, at least, like if you say halal, can't we use other term as friendly term, more friendly term?
Why is it not friendly?
Or can we just sacrifice? Can we sacrifice the
stupid attitude? America and halal.
Can we sacrifice value at the altar of connotation? Thank you.
Yes, the Honorable Grand Kadi of Plateau State, please. Yes.
These are some of our problems. Friendly.
Thank you very much. My Lord,
I
am Kadi from Plateau State, Sharia Court of Appeal.
Okay, you are not the Grand Kadi.
I'm not the Lord.
Okay, please.
My name is Badamasi Kabir Adam.
Exactly.
Looking at Nigeria, which is a heterogeneous society,
yes,
and at the same time, when we look at the Islamic transactions and activities that are developing in the countries, in this country, we have
we can see that there are developing Islamic financial institutions that are cropping up. And also, I had the opportunity of discussing with some of the expatriates in some Islamic countries who are Muslims and who indicated interest to come and establish Islamic institutions like industries and insurance finance companies in Nigeria. But some of them expressed their deep concern that in case they happen to find themselves in Nigeria and establish such kind of institutions, they may not have legal remedy under Islamic law. For example, take the case of Taj Bank, which is an Islamic institution. In case of controversy between the company or between the bank and the customer, now if either of them will go to court to challenge the action of the other, they may not have legal remedy under Islamic law. On the other hand, if they happen to file a case in the High Court of Justice, which is a court of unlimited jurisdiction, a lawyer will rise up and challenge the decision of the court because the transaction is governed by Islamic law. So in such kind of situation, what will be the legal remedy for either of the agreed parties? That's my question.
Yes. Time factor, we will have to stop here to enable us hear from our distinguished speakers. We have asked enough questions now. It's a very robust conversation. It's a conversation that will keep on for only God knows when. So it's we come to the point when we'll allow the distinguished speakers to respond to some of the comments, very robust and engaging comments and remarks. So, Professor Adam, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Allah muke, Allah ya ce halal. That is the word halal. To a Europe and America, I got to go question.
Comments and contributions. And some made some questions. Maybe I will take those related to regulations of halal and maybe some of the legal relevant issues, and left the real certification issues to the chairman of Dar al Halal, who is a real practitioner in the field. I am just an advisor. The first response was in relation to the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in the country, in Nigeria, to be the leading authority for halal certification in the country. I can vividly remember in 2022, towards the end of the late Muhammadu Buhari's administration, there was a conference of stakeholders on halal. And the initial presumption is that the Supreme Council should take lead, copying Malaysian model of JAGIM, Jabatan Agama Islamic Agama Malaysia. That is Department of Religious Departments in Malaysia. But then taking critical look at this, the two bodies are separate, are entirely different. There is no any law in Nigeria recognizing Supreme Council for Sharia as a government entity. It is a Muslim organization that brings together all Muslims. So it doesn't have the powers that the Jabatan, the JAGIM has in Malaysia. Therefore, the model there was discovered to be very incompetent or not relevant to Nigerian context. And that's why this model is being preferred and suggested to have a hybrid, a molding what is there in Malaysia and other jurisdictions. Some already has demanded its establishment law to regulate, to issue standards, so halal standard inclusive, to register conformity assessment bodies. Halal certification bodies are also conformity assessment bodies so that they can register them under NRCAP. What was recommended is not yet implemented, is to have a policy, a guidelines for halal certification. That has not been done up to now. For the second aspect is to have NINAS, which is an agency with the mandate of accrediting halal conformity assessment bodies, and that is how it goes. For the second part of the question concerning having halal certification bodies to be a non-for-profit organization. Actually, maybe this is a misconception about how it goes. It is a business everywhere globally, and it is not a charitable organization. So their role is very technical, and it requires professionals ranging from financial experts, food hygiene, veterinary doctors, Sharia experts. You need to engage them. It's not only about Sharia alone. There are so many experts that are required, and it is routinely to be maintained as explained by my co-presenter. Therefore, the practice globally, where there are private organizations serve as halal certification bodies, it is to serve as a limited liability company in most jurisdictions, and that's the global best practice across different jurisdictions, as I highlighted during my presentation. I also concur with the presentation of the learned professor, Professor Abikan, on the need for Spring Council for Islamic Affairs and, of course, other Islamic bodies to push for strong Muslims with passion and with technical know-how of doing their network so that they can push. And the way he cited the case of Sarki Sunusi, Allah ya kara masa lafiya, what he did in the Central Bank. Actually, this is what we need. We need more Sunusis. Instead, we need more Sunusis in NICOM, we need more Sunusis in SON, NDIC, and NAFTA and the likes, so that we can have this type of push. On the two responses relevant to dispute resolution, one of the participants triggering, and the Honorable Kani as well mentioning about the dispute resolution in the halal economy. This one is already practical. What has to do with the Islamic finance component of halal economy? That legal lacuna has been there, and it has been one of the lingering issues that has never been resolved because of the conflicts. I cannot say conflict in reality, but then the jurisdictional issue. We have all known the provisions of Section 251, sub 1A to J, which confer federal high courts with special jurisdictions over matters of corporate matters, particularly banking and other financial. That has been there. And now we have Islamic financial institutions under central banks, under NICOM, the capital operators, under said fund managers, and under pension we have pension fund administrators who are operating based on Islamic principles. And the learned benchers on the bench of federal high courts, we know that most of them, I cannot generalize, have nothing to do with the knowledge of Sharia, because it's not mandatory for them, because none of their primary jurisdiction requires this. Unlike Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, maybe that they may have such at the upper level. Now, there has been established cases between financial institutions and other corporates related to Islamic finance, which are being adjudicated for by the conventional courts, either federal high court or state courts. And of course, the rulings are going to be relevant to the provisions of Sharia and the contractual relationship between the parties. There has been so many agitations. There has been so many moves by so many organizations, but up to now we have not got it. On this structure, I want to recommend a model that may work. Having worked at different capacities with different organizations, I suggest MULAN should champion the cause of making remedy to this by collaborating with similar or relevant organizations, particularly NIFIA, Non-Interest Financial Institutions Association in the country, which is an umbrella that brought all financial institutions operating in Nigeria based on Islamic principles together. And I also recommend to have Nigeria Supreme Council for Sharia to be there and other relevant organizations working to ensure establishment and strengthening the Islamic financial services, particularly in INSAN. There is a body established as it is known as INSAN, Institute of Sharia Advisors and Auditors of Nigeria, under the leadership of our Sheikh Professor Bashir Ali Umar. I suggest that if MULAN can collaborate with this, they can know the technical, they have experts who know inside information that can assist in getting remedy to this. Through one of these three options. One, amendment of section 277, subsection 1, which provides for the special jurisdiction of Sharia Court of Appeal over Islamic personal laws. We can just add personal and commercial. These two words, art and commercial, will resolve everything, so that Sharia Court of Appeals will have primary jurisdiction over matters related to Islamic financial disputes from Islamic financial institutions. Two, to convert them with this jurisdiction through another statute without amending the constitution, through other laws of the financial institutions. These jurisdiction can find comfort to them. Or lastly, in the worst scenario, a special tribunal like that of ISC Investment and Securities Tribunal and the Tax Tribunal can be established to adjudicate over matters related to Islamic finance disputes. I so submit. Thank you very much. The next response related to this story, Mr. My Lord, I have taken, okay. On the regulation of the halal conformity, halal certification bodies that who regulates them, I don't know, maybe Dr. Miashek may respond to that, but I have mentioned in my presentation that currently SON is registering halal certification companies or bodies under its NRCAP, Nigeria Register for Halal for Conformity Assessment Practitioners, and this body, they are regulating it. What is lacking currently is there is no guidelines or any regulation governing this function, and this is what the committee that we are working tirelessly to make sure that is there. There is a committee currently working. I am a member in the National Halal Strategy Implementation Committee, which is chaired by the Vice President, and there are so many work streams with different experts across different professions. So I believe this is there. Maybe what we may need is to strengthen the move so that we push more in order to realize this. My second or last comment is on MULAN sponsoring awareness. I think this is a very good idea. But for the concentration on foods alone, without including banks, including other sectors of services, I think maybe the person making this comment or asking this question is not aware, but I believe all the sectors I have highlighted are fully active in the country. We have full sectors providing services based on Islamic financial principles in the financial sector. The banking, we have 5 banks. The Takaful, we have 5 Takaful operators. The capital market, We have 5 standalone fund managers. We have 20 registered CIS collective investment scheme. And we have a 21 PFS under regulation of the National Pension Commission operating for 6, which is an ethical fund. So I believe we have done a lot. The only problem we have is lack of awareness, and it has been suggested by one of the learned Kadisi, one of the honorable Kadisi, to give more awareness, and I think it's a welcome idea. Lastly, my lord, is a response over changing the Arabic names: Halal, Jaiz, Takaful, Islamic. Actually, I am not in support of this type of the change, because Islamic finance is there. Islamic finance of Britain in UK. It is halal in USA. It is halal in Brazil. It is halal in Australia. It is halal in all jurisdictions. Why should we be apologetic to use another name in Nigeria? Halal is part of our religion, and it is a constitutional right that is being safeguarded under Section 38 Section 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria. And we are Muslims, and we are not apologetic to anyone to use the term that is halal, jaiz is jaiz, Islamic banking is Islamic banking, takabul is takabul. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you.
The word halal has been accepted globally. It's not requirement to even the most ardent Islamophobic. It is not repugnant. They have accepted it all over the world. So it's not oppressive. We are unapologetic, like the learned professor said. We use the word halal because that was what God prescribed for us. Halal is only halal and tayyibah. That is what is only good for us. So if we use that word, just like we use the word Sharia, whether anybody likes it or we know what Sharia means, what Sharia stands for. Now, we are running out of time. We are far behind schedule. We try to wrap up. Learned Honorable Kadi from Plateau State. I think there are some judice cases. There are some cases that are pending in court now. I think both at the Court of Appeal level and at the Supreme Court level. Some of these Islamic financial institutions, in their contractual documents, they have incorporated arbitration clauses. And these arbitration clauses are mandatory before you go to court. And there is a wide body of jurisprudence in Nigeria that where there is an arbitration clause, you cannot go to court until the arbitral process has been exhausted. So the moment there is provision for an arbitrator, internally, you can only, the bank, you agree with them, extempore, that the arbitrators will, because it's an Islamic-based transaction, so the arbitrators will be people knowledgeable in the application of Islamic law. It is now a contractual right. It is a contractual duty and an obligation. So the question of going to court to maybe later, some people, but there are about 2 or 3 cases that I know now at there are some duties. I don't want us to make too many comments on it, but that some of these Islamic financial institutions have come up with these arbitration clauses in their agreements, and they are being enforced. Muslims have not bothered and have never questioned the enforcement of Sharia law to their transactions. Those of them that are so wholehearted and have no qualms about English law being the law to govern their transactions, because there are transactions that govern a Muslim and a financial institution. That is the new jurisprudence that is likely to evolve, and it is MULAN and other interest groups that should be at the forefront of this. They should look at some of these cases and begin to support. Once it is a transaction, commercial transaction between a Muslim and a Muslim, and there is an arbitration clause in documented contractual arrangement, Islamic law will apply, even if it is commercial, without the need for any constitutional amendment. I will yield the floor to distinguished Dr. Madugu to wrap the session. Okay. Dala wani ya bloke mutane wai a faɗi number motar shi. Yes.
The attention of the owner of this private highway outside, Kano PLC 325 AS. The owner of the attention of the owner of this private highway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my Lord. Professor Abakar Adam has touched on almost all the questions, except one which I want to briefly talk on the issue of mechanically or biologically or laboratory produced meat, whether it is halal or non halal, or robotically, whatever. Whether it is halal or not. And that is the beauty of having a Sharia panel in all the halal certification company. It is their duty to look at emerging issues. But in the literature, these are lab or cell culture or lab-grown processes. And it involves biology, tissue engineering, chemical production, and so on and so forth. And it actually starts with taking a part of meat from the animal, and it is now, and it is now cultured in the laboratory, and providing the required atmosphere and then the environment, these cells now grow, and then meat is produced. But for us as Muslims, we know that for any meat to be halal, there is a process. One, the animal must be alive at the time of the slaughter. The animal must be alive at the time of slaughter. The slaughterman must be a Muslim. He must evoke the name of Allah before, and our duties are provided for that. There might be issues, but the issue is that we need to know when that part of meat is taken from the animal. Was the animal alive or the animal was dead? So some fertile groups have come up in Europe and America, where we have the scientific development to produce this meat. And some have come up with the opinion that if the meat is taken from a live halal animal and the processes involved doesn't involve non-halal processes, such a meat can be regarded as halal. But there are also scholars and groups that have come up with the position that if it does not follow the processes of, the meat itself from the animal being, alive and halal, and then it has to be, slaughtered by a Muslim, and the name of Allah has to be pronounced. Such culturally self-developed laboratory, robotic, mechanic meat cannot be regarded as halal. Wallahu alam. Our scholars are there. Whenever issues of this nature comes, we will give it to our halal expert, Sharia advisory expert, and Professor Adam is one of them. Since he has not touched on that, that's why I do some little karambani. But inshallah, you'll talk with.
We have come to the end of this synthetic things.
As with the mentioned in halal certification, there is need for standardization. You have to refer to a standard, either JACI standard or CIMIC. For Nigeria, SOL adopted CIMIC standard. And of this CIMIC standard does not prohibit the use of GMO products, but it has to be under strict surveillance and strict scrutiny to ensure that it is not harmful. If it is being screened to be non-harmful, then it is halal. Otherwise, it will be non-halal. In most cases, the term used is not haram. It is non-halal because even if it is halal, but it is not tayyiban, it will not be used. That's why the term is used not halal. And so also, JACI standard of Malaysia of 2020 also made the same provision. Wallahu ala wa ala. Thank you, my Lord.
Thank you very much, Professor. Then come the end of this session.
We all agree with me that it has been a very wonderful and illuminating session. The conversations, like I said, will continue. These are existential challenges and issues, and what the takeaway should be from here, in my view, is that we have not started. We need to start. We need not to look back. We need to continue with enough positivity in a positive direction. We cannot rest on our oars. The world is moving at a very fast speed. We cannot allow ourselves to be left behind. Across the world, there have been advocacy groups, very, very powerful advocacy groups, challenging actions or starting challenges to processes and procedures that can be or have the potential of being un-Islamic. And because these things are done within the framework of the Constitution and the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and maybe even some of the states, we need to do a lot. It is time we become more and more active. All the institutions, the national, what is it? This the one that the Sultan presides over. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the National Council for Sharia in Nigeria, MULAN has to support these foremost agencies or foremost associations to be sure that Muslims are active with respect to what has already been given in the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Constitution and the laws of Nigeria. Excuse me. There is enough latitude to challenge actions of governments and producers of goods and services. Thank you very much. I thank the organizers for giving us the opportunity to be here and to do what we have just done. Thank you so very much. God bless you all. May Allah bless you. May Allah reward you abundantly for all your efforts. Amen. Summa Amen. Okay, two.
My Lord, I have been charged with the responsibility of doing a couple of things. This is one of the job of Dan and your families. Honestly, this is a fact. The information, the knowledge, despite this moment, I think we've been quoted for some time. And indeed, we are just beginning as the right people. MULAN is challenged. We have accepted the challenge. Inshallah, the successive administration of this country, MULAN, will definitely follow up this campus. Take action. Inshallah, we will continue to liaise all of you at the bench, with our consultants and contributors, so that at the end of the day, we should be able to reach our destination. young Allah may pour abundantly for the efforts that you put in presenting this marvelous papers and presentations, which inshallah will be circulated in the next edition, inshallah, of our journal. So the struggle continues. The challenge is unwavering. Indeed, Islam and Muslims are being challenged world over.
Yes.
We cannot deny that. But it does not mean we are going to chicken out. We will not.
No.
It is time for us to be dogged. It is time for us to be relentless so that we assert our rights as Muslims, and until the day of our last breath, we cannot stop until success is achieved. Thank you so much. May I invite the current Kadi of Kano State and that of, is it Adamawa? Ayome, to please come to the podium to give the plea to the chairman and the two presenters so that we can be able to appreciate them and record them to history.
We must have so much.
Thank you, my lord.
You know, nuisance value. For us in Nigeria.
The first presentation will be made to the chairman of the occasion.
Alhamdulillah.
You have to speak to the words.
Hello. On behalf of Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, I present this association for the 12th president who gives the dissertation, and let's celebrate this yes. Presented to Honorable Justice Ali Abubakar Rabbi, women, in recognition of your distinguished service as chairman of Association of the MULAN Annual General Conference 2026.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, the Honorable Grand Kadi. Thank you. May Allah bless you. May you continue to live long. May you continue to have Allah's blessings and His reward. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. I feel deeply honored and deeply privileged. Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feekum.
Thank you. Yes. Karabamishi. Enough? That is all. That is all. Thank you, sir. Yeah. My lord, take your seat. You are done. Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. Let us say. Sonia, Alhamdulillah.
But today, my dad, Ibrahim, he's my junior at the university.
Okay.
Hey, I was his president and law student.
Okay,
and he was my financial secretary. Yes. How much?
81.
Oh, 81.
Yes.
I finished 83.
Okay, yes.
Exactly. Gazama is behind me.
Okay, Tarfa to Tarfa.
Ricky like a banana shakara.
Okay,
Allah. I once again present this award for you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. Hey, my card is my second final one.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
The name is Dr. Sheikh. Once again, Honorable Grand Kadi, U.S. State, Abba Alaji Mamadi, I hereby present on behalf of MULAN this award of excellence to Dr. Ashek Meidugu for your wonderful participation and presentation of paper this afternoon. And we thank you so much for all that you have done here. And we pray that God should see you through in all your endeavors. Once again, I present this on behalf of MULAN. Thank you.
That 30 minutes break. Mashallah, congratulations. Thank you very much. We need to go there. Mashallah, Bashi, Abamaka.
Inshallah, this doctor have been directed to inform the respected members that we have another session. Inshallah, we have been acting this break. So we'll be back at exactly 2:30. Take the second session. So members are enjoined to please be available in good time for the session take place. Thank you very much. Bye.
I'm going to go to one of the speakers.
I will be like which is available to come forward for it. And at the same time, that of the Honorable Grand Kadi of Kaduna State. Please, if you have it in your possession, you should please take it out. Okay, so salat and the lunch will be combined together within 30 minutes. That is it. Jazira, how